the context of all the work that we do here at Move the Crowd. You know, our work is about the entrepreneurial journey, but it really is about engaging the entrepreneurial soul. And it is about the soul, the business of the soul that takes us into the heart and the mind and the spirit. And, you know, there is so much rhetoric out there, as we all know, in the world of self-help. And, you know, so often we get told to come within and work within and, you know, but we aren't often instructed in how the law works, how the law of creation, which is called the law of pure potentiality, works. And so tonight we're going to go into that in a very specific way. And I'm going to take your questions and we're going to engage and really talk about the power that each of us possesses as human beings to create the reality we most desire. So you know that our theme for the month of April is Be Creative. And within that, we've been exploring this year-long theme of collaboration and contribution. And within that, these 7 virtues of willingness. And so our theme of Be Creative really comes from this commitment and this willingness to own the fact that we are creative and to know that we have the power to design our own reality. Like really, not like, you know, foo-foo rhetoric, law of attraction, say what? But like, no, we really are creative and we really do get to create it. And so I'm going to share a funny story and then we'll get into it a little bit more. So I recently was at the doctor's office and was getting blood work done with a lab technician, and his name was Joe, and Joe was asking me all about myself and what I did. I guess he was trying to take my mind off the needle. And I explained to him that I ran an entrepreneurial training company and that I worked with creative entrepreneurs and helped them build sustainable business models. And his question was, what's the number one thing, you know, that you have to engage in order to be successful in business? What's the one thing you tell people is the most important thing in order to be successful? And I opened my mouth to say something, and Joe said to me, money, right? Because you know it's all about the money. You have to have money. And I said, actually, Joe, it's about the mindset. And he cocked his head and he looked at me and he said, well, what do you mean by that? And I said, you know, our capacity to genuinely be open to what it is that we want to have and what it is that we want to create, and our willingness to receive everything that the universe wants to give us in order to have that be a reality is the number one road to success, the number one way in which we access success. I said, because a lot of people have money, but as you know, they still fail in business. And he began to think about that and chew on that. And, you know, he was like, oh, you know, that's right. Because, you know, sometimes if you're a very difficult person or you're closed-minded, you know, you don't want to listen, you think you know it all, you know, you fail. And I was like, now you're with me, Joe. And then, of course, he proceeded to tell me his entrepreneurial story, and, you know, and we were off to the races. So here's what I want you to know about the way that creativity works. Belief is the driver. In other words, what you believe gives you what you think about and what you focus your attention and your energy on, and what you think about guides your behavior, i.e. what you act on, which gives you your experience, right? The reality that you experience as a result of how you act or how you behave. And that reinforces what you believe. And you go round and around and around. Now, what's important to understand about this is what we call the mindset wheel at Move the Crowd. And every entrepreneur who may be listening, who is a part of our community and does our work, knows what this wheel looks like. And you can go round and around and around, and we do. And that is what creates our patterns, and our patterns and our habits are what ultimately give us our reality. Now, here's the beautiful thing and the challenging thing about this wheel. It is neutral to what you believe. In other words, if the belief is positive, then your thought process is positive and empowering, right? Then your actions, your corresponding actions, positive and empowering, and your experience, positive and empowering. However, if the belief is not empowering, if the belief is limiting, then your thought process, your behaviors, and hence what you experience is limiting. So the opportunity is to pay real attention to what you believe. And some of the things that we believe are very apparent to us, and some of the things that we believe may not be so apparent. It may take us getting into the thick of a situation to actually experience what it is that we believe, you know, and not realizing, oh, wow, I didn't realize that I was afraid, or I didn't realize that I doubted myself, or whatever those potential hidden beliefs are when they you know, sort of show up unexpectedly. But the key thing, again, to know is that when you pay attention to what you believe, and when you focus on what you want versus what you want to avoid, then you are becoming a conscious creator, which is the name of the game, is how to become a conscious creator in the reality that you want to experience. We've been conditioned to believe that we are victimized by what happens to us. And that's not what the law of pure potentiality says. The law of pure potentiality says that you are the powerful creator. And that if you focus on what it is that you want to create, and you think in concert with what it is that you want to create, and you act in concert with what it is that you want to create, that the universe must oblige you and bring you experiences and opportunities that are in alignment with what it is that you want to create. Even when they don't look like what you think they should look like, they're working in concert with you if you are engaging the law. So I want to open it up because there may be some questions already about what I've shared in terms of the way that the law works. And for those of you who are in the blogosphere and have the ability to access the link, you might want to have the mindset wheel in front of you as we're talking. But yeah, let's open it up because I wanna engage your questions. How's this landing for you? How's this resonating with you?
So I'm going to go here and see if any questions. Folks are welcome to submit questions. I believe this is the first time we're using the Q&A feature. So it should be, you should see a little Q&A bubble if you are watching this via Google Hangout. There might be folks with questions out there who are watching it on the site, and so thus they are just wondering, holding the questions in their mind and not necessarily able to share. So I don't see any coming through just yet, but I'll check the Google Plus page, see if any comments are happening over there.
Mm-hmm. So I know that you have questions because those of you who have emailed me have said, I'm coming on the chat tonight and I have questions. So Dana, let's talk a little bit, right? So as we give them an opportunity to present themselves, do you have a question for me about mine?
You know, it's interesting because, you know, I do work with folks around mindset as well. And my first experience with mindset work was with you. You know, as a young, you know, leader in the peace movement and having no idea why I felt so stuck or why I wasn't sure. I had some trajectory and everyone told me it was a good one, but I really couldn't figure out why I didn't feel like I was thriving in it. And I guess you know, I can look back on it now and realize, you know, like how big and once I had the like initial breakthrough of like I didn't think I was smart enough or good enough, right? And how we were able to do that work. But I guess I'm really curious. Oh, I'm starting to hear the questions pop. Like, what do you have to say? Like, as it gets like more and more subtle and more refined, right? When it doesn't seem so stark, when you've sort of like hashed it out with all those like initial big ones that like beat you over the head, and then once it becomes more subtle, and how do you notice like the stuckness feels a little bit more creeping, in my experience?
Yeah, those hidden beliefs, right? And often they don't come up unless you do kind of get in the thick of something, and you either go, why am I stuck, or why do I all of a sudden feel like I'm doubting myself? So I find that with every level of evolution, in other words, anytime you make a leap in your mindset, or you make a leap in your self-identity or your self-perception, often that is when the limiting beliefs resurface. And they can resurface in various kinds of ways, right? Where you kind of sort of feel like, wow, I thought I dealt with this conversation of I'm not good enough, or I thought I dealt with my conversation around not being good with money or not deserving to be paid well for what I'm doing, right? But, you know, I was working at $5,000 a month and I was all good, but then my income surged to $15,000 a month. And all of a sudden, my mindset went crazy. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Raise your hand if you know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. You know, and so what it requires for us, Dana, is that vigilance of really checking in, like, where am I focusing my attention? Where am I focusing my attention? Because the mind has a tendency to subtly drift when we're not paying attention. So we may think, okay, we're working on a project, or we're working on, you know, an idea, and we experience something that feels like a challenge, for example, or we keep procrastinating. There's something that we know that we need to do that is integral to the success of what we're working on, and we keep pushing it back and pushing it back. Somehow our schedule keeps getting taken over by all these other things, and we don't realize that that's our mindset operating. We don't realize that that is resistance. We think, oh, we're just so busy, and, you know, we just haven't had a chance, quote unquote, to get to it. Mm-hmm. And so the mind is very slick and quite clever in the ways that it works. And so, you know, what it means is that sometimes there are different things that we have to pay attention to. Sometimes we have to pay attention to what's going on in our bodies. Sometimes we have to pay attention to what's going on with our calendar, right, with our time. Sometimes we have to pay attention to what's going on with other people in our, you know, sort of immediate environment or in our circle, because those will also give us clues to what's happening. And I'm going to say, anytime you're experiencing resistance or struggle or difficulty trying to get something to line up, invariably there is something going on there that's either related to resistance or struggle or some type of deeply ingrained belief.
Right, right. Well, I think that this is great lead-in, and that you've been sort of speaking to it already, is a question that comes in from Kara, and it's, what is the best way to bring limiting beliefs into awareness? So what I was just hearing from you is when we were talking a little bit about the more subtle beliefs, but it is looking around, you said, like, you know, looking around, like, is your calendar, like, all out of, like, are there imbalances, and paying attention to them?
The biggest way, Kara, you can tell that a limiting belief is operating is through patterns. In other words, are you experiencing breakdown situations or drama situations that keep repeating themselves, right? So you notice repetition is always the first way you can start to smoke out a limiting belief. So, you know, let's say, for example, you're dating a really phenomenal guy or a really phenomenal girl, right? Whatever, however you flow, it's all good in the hood. But let's say you're dating someone and they're really phenomenal, and the first 2 months it's going awesome, awesome, awesome. And then all of a sudden something happens, and now, you know, the person's not calling, or you're trying to reach them and you can't get them. And you notice that in every relationship you get into, at about the 2-month mark, all of a sudden it starts to go funky. And if that is a repeating pattern for you, that is a surefire sign that a limiting belief is operating. Sometimes you'll also notice for yourself, if you get to a place where success is starting to happen or people are starting to acknowledge you for what you're doing really, really well, and particularly if you get acknowledged in a public way, and all of a sudden you get terrified by the acknowledgement and you really want to kind of run and hide or go small, that's another way you can tell that a limiting belief is happening. If you find yourself being really angry or being really scared, and that becomes like a perpetual state of being for you, that's another way that you can tell that a limiting belief is operating. So these are some of the signs that they give you a clue that there's something going on in your belief system.
Nice. Well, we've got a couple more questions here. So the next one comes in from Heather. And her question is, what are the differences between changing your mindset versus faking it till you make it?
So, this whole idea of positive self-talk and affirmation is some of that, is where some of that faking it till you make it school comes from. But I have to tell you that my experience is you have to embrace the practice in order to really invite in the shift. So the faking it till you make it, what my experience has been is that people tell themselves, oh, like I'm a millionaire, right? You got $21 in the bank. I'm a millionaire, right? But no matter what you tell your mindset, somehow the $1 million never seems to show up in the bank. And so we add an adjustment on that called the growing edge. And that's about how do you develop an affirmation that you can hold, that is believable for you, that your consciousness is willing to accept and willing to work with. So the fake it till you make it, from my perspective, is really more about how do you build an affirmation that meets you where you are and then graduate that affirmation as you get more confidence. So I'm going to give you an example. So let's stay with the relationship analogy. So your first affirmation for the relationship, ideally you might want to get to the place where you could just say, I am lovable. But for some reason, when you say that, you start to break out in hives or you start to break out in a rash, right? There's a way that that particular affirmation is so over your edge that your consciousness is not willing to accept it, right? And so terror, anger, those are often clear signs that you may be over your edge, right? So how do we bring it back onto the edge? You may say, I am willing to be lovable. And you try that on and you see how that feels, and you still may feel a little nervous about that, or you still may feel a little challenged about that. So you may need to pull it back even further, and you may need to say, I want to be willing to be lovable. And then you try that on and see how that feels, and you begin to work with that. And as you gain confidence, the want drops, and you say, I am willing to be lovable. And then as you gain even more confidence in the practice, you get to, I am lovable. I am lovable, right? The key thing here is practice. And practice with the absolute intention and desire to align with the affirmation so that the opportunity to transform into the full affirmation becomes accessible and available to you, as opposed to something that may feel like an inauthenticity, right? When you are declaring things that you really don't feel like you have any relationship to.
Mm-hmm. Nice. So we've still got a few more questions coming in here. The next one is from Cheryl, and her question is, how do you override the negative experiences and stay focused on the positive?
So there has to be a commitment to transform the conversations that keep the negative experiences alive for you. So, Cheryl, I would say to you is to look at what specific negative experience continues to play out for you, right? Or continues to haunt you. And to notice what is the associated belief with that experience, right? So I'm going to give you an example. When I was 12 years old, a really good friend of the family, my family, and my neighbor and his friends broke into our house and they robbed us. We were away on vacation at Atlantic City, and I was 12 years old, and I had been doing all of these things and receiving an allowance, right? Which y'all know how it is back in the day. That's how you earn your little money, your little ice cream money. And I had a Maxwell House coffee can. And I had about $45 in that Maxwell House coffee can, and I had hid that can really well before we went on vacation. Well, lo and behold, certainly one of the things that was stolen was my coffee can. And I remember going into my room and into my little hiding place and realizing that the can had been stolen. And when I recognized that it was missing, what I said to myself was, you can't trust anybody, particularly because this was a friend and a neighbor, the family. You can't trust anybody, that people will steal from you if you let them in. They will take from you. So as an adult, that became not just money, but that became they would take ideas from you. They would take your man if you were in a relationship. They would take, some kind of praise or acknowledgement that was meant for you. They would take credit for what you did. And that belief absolutely dictated the way I was in relationships with people. So needless to say, I wouldn't let people come close to me. And it wasn't until I understood that belief was operating, rooted in that core experience of being that 12-year-old girl and having that coffee can with my little money, stashed away in it, stolen, that I was still living that out. And I was recreating that. And of course, again, if I plugged that belief into the mindset wheel, people were taking from me. People were betraying me. I was creating that reality, which only reinforced that belief. So part of what you have to do is you got to look at what is that core belief I'm still carrying after all these years or after all those experiences, and what are the ways in which that core belief is continuing to reinforce those negative experiences for me. And once you discover what that belief is, you have to make a commitment to transforming it. In the work we do at Move the Crowd, we have a 6-step process that we take you through for transforming your negative beliefs into new beliefs, positive beliefs that support you and that empower you. And so what's critical there is that you have to replace that belief. You can't just assume that once you see that negative belief and you're aware of that negative belief that it's just going to go away. You have to actively, consciously work on it by creating a new belief and giving that new belief your attention every time that old belief wants to rear its head.
Mm-hmm. Nice. We have another question that's come in here, and it's from Tracy, and I'd also love to hear more about just how to apply, after we take Tracy's question, more about how to apply this, like, as your I find myself, I feel like I'm more of an established entrepreneur at this point, right? And I do remember as an emerging entrepreneur, just sort of this like, ooh, idea, and how the mindset works in that. in that work as you're building a business. So I cheated a little bit there, but we'll take Tracy's question.
How does this apply in business?
Yeah. So yeah, and so Tracy's is, how do you begin to shift to a better mindset when you've gotten used to a limiting mindset in your day-to-day?
Yeah, that is always the challenging thing, is that, you know, when you tell yourself things over and over and over and over again, those beliefs become ingrained, right? So the first thing that you have to do is you have to start to pay attention to what it is that you're saying to yourself, and noticing when you're saying things that limit you, that either make you afraid or that make you angry or that hurt your feelings. You all, sometimes we say things to ourselves that hurt, that are painful, that make us sad. And so I want you to start to notice, Tracy, when you feel angry or when you feel sad or when you feel anxious, wait a minute, what am I saying to myself? And I really want you to listen to what it is that you're saying. If you know what it is that you're saying, I want you to actually start to write those conversations down. What are the top 2 or 3 things that I'm constantly telling myself over and over and over again? Because the first step to transforming those limiting conversations is being able to smoke them out, right? To bring them out of the recesses of your mind and into the light of day, right? For some of us, they play like the greatest hits on heavy rotation, you know, right? Like the sort of the top Lady Gaga song, right? But for others of us, they occur like wallpaper or like white noise, like they're always there, but we don't even realize that they're always there, but they're always there, and we have contained ourselves within them. So the first thing is to become aware of what it is that you're saying to yourself, right? And then the second thing is to really make a conscious decision and a promise that you're going to shift the way that you speak to yourself, that you're actually going to talk to yourself in a way that is encouraging, and that the practice is, as you see those negative beliefs come up, you stop, you remind yourself that you have a new commitment, you forgive yourself, right, for the fact that you are in this negative self-talk pattern, and you speak what the new conversation is or the new commitment is. And the new commitment can be as simple as, I'm willing to say something positive here, or I'm willing to believe in myself, or I'm willing to say things that make me feel good. That may be as far as you get in the beginning. And then as you continue to work with that belief, like I'm willing to say something new here, or I'm willing to love myself here, you begin to create new conversations that support you and that strengthen you. You might ask yourself in that moment, what can I say to myself right now that will empower me, that will support me, that will encourage me? And you practice that every time that limiting conversation that's been ingrained comes up.
Got it. So we have actually another question that's come in here, and I've got them coming a few different ways. So we have one here from Alessandra, and it's a little bit of a few-parter here. Let's see. Well, I'll just sort of pose the questions, Rha, and you can
sort of hone in.
Yes.
Okay, my dear.
So my feeling is that it has something to do with sort of the how on the other side. So the series of questions, right, is, what do we do when we become aware of a limiting belief? What's the distinction between acknowledging and honoring it and moving on? Like, how do you address it? Like, how do you dissolve or replace the limiting beliefs?
So
Right.
let's talk about the 6-step process, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Alessandra, I know we've been working, Mama, right on the 6-step process. So this is right off of the, hot off the press of the front lines of what I know you've been working on, right? So the first step is awareness, is to see it and to acknowledge it. And you all, sometimes it's hard because, again, we say things to ourselves. Sometimes that can be really mean. Like, we can be meaner to ourselves, you all, than anybody else ever could in a million years. We just, we have to own that. We have to really acknowledge that there are ways in which we victimize ourselves by what we say, right, in our internal dialogue. So the first thing you got to do is you got to see it. And then the second thing you do is you got to own it. You got to accept, like, okay, I really am saying this to myself. And not only am I saying this to myself, but I'm saying this to myself constantly throughout the day, right? Because it's the repetition that actually moves it to the place of unconsciousness or subconsciousness, right? So we have to acknowledge that. We have to own that that's what's going on. And then the third step is we have to forgive ourselves. Because we didn't know, we didn't see, we didn't recognize the damage that it's caused, the hurt that it's caused, the pain, the fear, the anger, the trepidation, the anxiousness, right? The anxiety, all of the frustration, all of the feelings that can be associated with the things that we say to ourselves that are not so nice, right? So how do we forgive? We have to forgive right there. And really say, it's okay. We didn't know any better. The next step is the opportunity to create a new vision. So if I could have my way, how would I talk to myself? Or what would I say to myself? Or what would I believe here, right? That's different than what I have been believing, right? And then we create the new belief. So maybe the original belief is something like, I'm stupid, right? Which is horrible, and yet sometimes we say this to ourselves. I'm so stupid, right? I should have seen that coming, or I should have known that, or I should have addressed that earlier, right? So once you see that you stop and you really acknowledge, like, wow, I really am saying this to myself. And you're like, do I really think I am stupid? I don't think that's true. So I'm gonna forgive myself for that. I wasn't aware that that's what I was saying to myself. So I'm going to forgive myself for that, right? Because that's not what I believe. That's not what I want to believe. That's not what I want to tell myself every day. So my new belief is actually that I'm smart, that I'm capable, that I'm able to figure this out, whatever this thing is, right? Or that, I had a lot going on, but now that I'm aware, I'll pay better attention next time to what's going on. So I'm learning. That's another, right? So I'm stupid. Another way to counteract that is I'm learning. I'm growing. I'm learning. This is new terrain for me. So maybe that becomes the new vision and the new belief. And so you begin to take action consistent with the new belief. So when something else happens that you didn't see coming, rather than telling yourself, I'm stupid, you say to yourself, oh, I didn't see that. Wow, I'm learning. This is a new one. Okay. So what do I want to know next time around? So maybe I have a little bit more heads up or a little bit more leeway or a little bit more room to respond to this one. Let me think about that, right? And you take action consistent with the new belief, right? Which may be that you get more information, or it may be that you ask a question, right? Or it may be that you say, okay, next time I'll give myself a little bit more room to prepare, so that when this thing comes next time, I'll be ready for it, right? And then when you do it, you celebrate. You honor yourself. You acknowledge yourself. Sometimes when we say the new thing, right, we don't even take the time to acknowledge that we say the new thing. We want to focus on the one time that we didn't say the new thing, right? So in other words, if we say the new thing 100 times, like we practice the new belief, and then we miss it, or we forget, or we have a moment where we say it to ourselves again, we want to beat ourselves up again for saying it, as opposed to paying attention to and celebrating the new vision and the new belief that we've begun working with. So there's a way that we must celebrate our progress in order to help ingrain the new conversation. Does that make sense, Dana?
Yeah, absolutely.
Practice, practice, practice. I can't say it enough, you all, because sometimes you'll say the new belief and it won't, and it won't change, and you'll give up. Keep breathing with it. Keep saying it to yourself, and giving your body and your spirit and your mind the room to shift into the new conversation. You have to remember, you've been saying this other stuff to yourself forever. So of course it's second nature. You've told yourself you're stupid 1,000 times. So guess what? You got to tell yourself you're beautiful and you're capable 1,000 times, at least.
At least.
You deserve it. You feel me? That's the rigor and the diligence. That's the hardest work, you all, is to stay in that practice until it shifts. To stay in there until the miracle shows up. That's the practice.
Yeah, I have to say, I remember still, and I use this as an example with my, with my clients all the time, is one of the first ones that was so big for me, and that was around not being smart enough. And of course, it's like one of those things where you tell someone they, like, oh yeah, I have this like core limiting belief that I'm not smart enough. And people are like, what? Are you crazy? And you're like, that doesn't help. But and then I remember the transformation of it, and I remember having my, like that first affirmation that touched what you referred to as the growing edge, where you're like, when you touch it, you're like, I'm gonna throw up, or my head's gonna pop, right? You're just like, oh my God, I can't believe that could be possible. It's not happening now, but it could be possible, and it would be awesome when that happened. And I must have said that first affirmation, I said it, I don't even know, like 100 times a day, because I was so desperate to like just be rid of the feeling. And then one day I remember like, gosh, I went to go say it, and I was like, I can't remember it. How long has it been since I've said it? Gosh, I think it's been a while. And I had to look it up, and then I was like, I said it, and I was like, gosh, it really doesn't feel that way. And I was like, I don't even feel this. It doesn't even feel that way. Like, of course I'm smart enough. Like, and it was like, gosh, I don't know when when the magic happened, but that was the moment that I realized, like, oh, there was the shift there, and it feels old now.
Yeah, and you get to challenge yourself, you all, because, it's just what I said, right? When you say that, do we ever interrogate it, right? So, so Dana, right, I remember this conversation, right? And it was like, okay, but do you really believe that? You know what I mean, you all? Like, if we really said it out loud, do we really believe it? Do we really believe some of the negative things that you say? Do you really think that's the truth of who you are? Challenge yourself around that.
Right.
And challenge other people when they say that garbage to you. Challenge them. Oh, really? Is that really what you think? Well, where are you coming from with that? Be willing to call yourself on the carpet for some of the things that you say that are hurtful to you. It's not who you are.
So I got one question that came in here via blog comment, and one that came, I'm not sure if this is the same Tracy or another Tracy. But let's see, we've got one. Let's take this one from Dave. Beloved Dave, and he says, talk about where the idea of being deserving or not blocks abundance. That's his request.
So talk about how he said being deserving
or not
right can block someone's success. Oh, beloved, this is the crux of the matter now, isn't it? What is it that has us believe that we do not deserve goodness, love, light, prosperity, creativity, right? What are those things that people have said to us that we have held as the truth? When you take an inventory of where those conversations come from. And there's a process that we take, again, you know, when we do understanding your relationship to capitalism, right, and we talk about our relationship to money and doing business, we talk a lot about this, Dave, right, which is where do these conversations come from? Because you all are carrying stuff that does not even belong to you. Anybody hear what I'm saying? If you hear what I'm saying, just wave your hand like this. If you hear what I'm saying. You are carrying stuff that doesn't even belong to you. You had a fight with an ex-girlfriend and she said something, or an ex-boyfriend and he said something, right? Or your mother, you had an argument and you got mad and she said something, and you took it as the truth. And this whole conversation about whether this, I mean, listen, we live in a society that conditions us to believe that there's something wrong with us, that we need to buy lip gloss and blue jeans and hair dye and you know what I'm talking about, you all, come on, and lipstick and all of this other shiznit in order to be worthy, right? And it's noise. That's somebody's marketing strategy, you guys. Somebody's marketing plan. That's not the truth about who you are. The truth about who you are as a human being is that you are amazing. You are fantastic. You are phenomenal. You are perfect and perfectly imperfect, made in the image of creativity, made in the image of all-providing source. And you got a direct connection to all that you want and all that you aspire to achieve and have. So I'm going to say to you that this conversation of worthy or not worthy and how it can impact your success is everything. Because what you believe is what you receive. And where the courage comes in is being willing to really challenge that and look yourself in the eye and really question, where is this conversation coming from? And what is it that I've swallowed that does not belong to me, that isn't about me, and certainly isn't the truth of who I am?
Mm-hmm. So, Ms. Rha, we've got about 15 minutes left of our chat, and we do have one more question that's come in that I can see. And then I know you wanted to give a moment to just sort of acknowledge perhaps some of the energies that we've all been experiencing lately, and then a last, a call for folks to join us.
Absolutely.
So let's see if we can get Tracy's in a ninja move here. Should the focus just be on you? I do good on the awareness. Seems like I shift though when I get around negative people.
Mm-hmm. Environment matters, Tracy. Who you surround yourself with, what you surround yourself with, what you ingest, what you take on, what you listen to, what you pay attention to matters. And so just as I pray, you are careful and cautious about what you put in your body, you want to be careful and cautious about what you have around you. And for some of us who have friends or family or loved ones who like to live in the negative space, this is a tough one. Because it does mean sometimes that we have to go on a diet, even with the people that we love the most, right? You have to take such good care of your consciousness, of your psyche, right? And, we've been talking all night about this intention because we also create by influence. Like we can be influenced in what we create, which is the whole objective of what conditioning is all about. So the question is, what are you going to be influenced by? If you know that you are influential, which all of us are, what are you going to be influenced by? And you make a conscious decision about what you surround yourself with, right? So for example, I do not watch the news. I do not watch the news because the news is not uplifting to me. The news does not encourage me to stay in love. The news encourages me to stay in fear and in trauma and in drama, right? There are other ways that I get my information when I want to understand what's going on in the world. I surround myself with knowledgeable people. I surround myself with positive people. I go to outlets that give me a positive perspective on what's happening, right? But that don't engage my fear and my doubt. And so you have to be very careful. You all, sometimes you will watch a murder mystery before you go to bed. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Or you will read about something very depressing before you go to bed and then wonder why you can't get out of bed in the morning. You have to be mindful of what you consume and what you intake. And you have to make sure that it is aligned with your commitment to where you want to place your focus and your attention, which should be all about the business you want to build, the venture you want to create, the contribution you want to make to society, the love you want to experience in your life, the love you want to give and share, the difference you want to make. All of these are the kinds of things that would love your attention. And all of these are the kinds of things that would enrich your life, right? So you have to be mindful, Tracy, about where you're hanging out.
Yeah.
Because it matters. It does matter.
Absolutely. And that's one of the brilliant things I think that, I'd love to hear you talk, obviously a bit about the energies that have been sort of surrounding us recently. And then also, a bit about the academy, right? Like, for sure, who you surround yourself with matters, and the crowd that we're cultivating. And so, yeah, we've got a couple questions that keep coming, but I think, we'll see if we can take maybe, we'll take a, see if we can squeeze a couple more in the end.
A little bit about this Cardinal Grand Cross. And for those of you who are into astrology, or even for those of you who have no idea what's going on, but you've been energetically feeling either a heaviness, or you've been energetically feeling a tension, or things have been incredibly difficult for you, or you've been experiencing intense emotions over the last couple of days, we are in a cosmic alignment that is very, very rare. It happens on average once every 400 years. And it is because we are coming into a time of renewal. So we are purging and we are stripping away in preparation for the new. And what is important to understand is that the new is genuinely new, meaning we are moving into an energetic vibration that we have never experienced before. And when we have these kinds of intense shifts that happen, we feel them in our body and we feel them in our spirits. And what is important to understand for those of you who are really feeling it right now is that we're coming into a time of renewal. And we're being asked to surrender and let go of all that does not serve. And I really want to talk about this in the context of mindset, because there are ways in which we are very attached to the things that do not serve us. As much as they are uncomfortable, they are familiar. And we have a desire to want to cling to that which is familiar. So when, someone said earlier today, how hard those limiting beliefs are to shake. And just by virtue of the fact that we tell ourselves that it's hard, can make it harder. Y'all hear what I'm saying? Can make it harder. So there is a way that these energies are really asking us and inviting us to surrender and to really make a new commitment to purge and let go of all that does not serve. For some of us, that's going to be negative people. And that's always a hard one, right? Because there are people you love and care about who may not be good for you, right? Just like there's food that you love and that tastes good that may not be good for you. Y'all hear what I'm talking about, right? There is a particular discipline that is being called for, and a particular courage that is being called for in this space of surrender, so that we can create the room for the newness to manifest and take root, not only inside of us, but energetically inside of our cosmic ecosystem. Humanity is going through a significant transformation right now, and it's all about our ability to be in relationship with each other It's all about our ability to be in true loving relationship with ourselves. And this is the sort of the stripping away that is creating the room for us to step into the new paradigm. So I'm going to say to you that, you know, if you are really emotional, you find yourself doing a lot of crying, or if you're really angry, or if you're really frustrated, or if you're really sad, that this is part of what these energies are moving through. And I want to invite you to breathe into those emotions and know that you are being asked to release and let go of whatever that is not serving you, that relationship, that thought pattern, that company, that venture, that interaction, that engagement, whatever those things are that are not enabling you to move into the highest potential of yourself. It's time to let go. It's time to let go. So use the energy to serve you in being able to release.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
It will get easier, you all, in about 5 days. You will start to feel the energy shift in about 5 days. You know, if you feel called to water, immerse yourself in water. If you feel called to nature, go to nature. You know, go to the things that bring peace and serenity to your spirit as we move through, you know, this next patch of the road.
Wonderful.
So now we want to talk a little bit about how you can join our community if you're not a part of the Move the Crowd family already. We are an entrepreneurial training company, this is true, but we are also a community of practice. We are a community of entrepreneurs who are committed to doing business in a way that is just and sustainable and equitable and harmonious and uplifting, not just for us, but for the planet as a whole. And we have a deep commitment to transforming and healing our relationship to capitalism and to fostering an economy that is true, that is paid, and that is good. And so our work of the Academy is, you know, it's a year-long intensive program. And as a matter of fact, the entrepreneurs on this call will tell you can spend multiple years in the Academy because the curriculum is custom designed for you. But you get support in a way that you've never been supported before. Trust me when I tell you this. The entrepreneurs in the room know what I'm saying when I say this. You get supported in a way that you've never been supported before. We hold a sacred container for your dreams and for your aspirations. So for my newbies out there who are like, I know that I'm here to do something more, but I'm scared or I'm stuck, right? Or I don't know what it is. We invite you to come into learning more about our work because we can create and provide through the Academy a sacred container for you to get clear about what you want to be building and then to help you get to work inside of what it is you want to be building. For those of you who have a dream and you are building it, but maybe you feel a little stuck or the profitability is not happening, you got to stay true, you got to do good, but get paid is not going on for you, we invite you to come in and find out about the Academy because we have the opportunity to really get into what is in the way of you and your money and mindset. Y'all hear me? Mindset is a big piece of it. You would be surprised. A lot of people come in and they say, oh, it's not about my mindset. I need a better business plan, or I need a better spreadsheet, or I need a better, and when we get down to the crux of it, you all, it's often about what we believe we are entitled to receive and have when it comes to money. A lack of money is about a breakdown in receptivity. It's about a crisis in your ability to receive, and we get inside of that at the Academy so that you really open up the field so that you can get the love, receive the love and the compensation that you deserve, the money, the praise, the recognition, all of it. So maybe that's going on for you. We invite you to come and explore the opportunity of the Academy. And then for those of my people who are, you know, you got the money, maybe you're wearing the golden handcuffs, some of my corporate refugees out there, you want to leave the high-paying job, but you're scared because you don't want to starve, or you've had built a successful business, but the meaning is missing. The significance is missing. The sense of genuine contribution is missing. You know, we also invite you to come and learn more about the opportunity of the Academy, to really understand what your purpose is and what it is that you're here to bring the planet and what it is that you are uniquely being called to bring and impact and affect. We invite you into the conversation of the Academy. So I'm going to assume in this interface that you could click a button. There's probably a button somewhere that says get started or come on the website. And Dana is the goddess of all of that.
Yeah. So if you're watching this,
and,
yeah,
but we invite you to come. We'll sign you up for a strategy session. We'll get you in front of our amazing coaches one-on-one, and we'll explore and listen together for what it is that you're up to and whether or not this particular opportunity is right for you. But I'm going to say to you, if you're really, really ready to step into your greatness and step into your purpose and be the contribution that you know you're here to be, that I invite you to click on that button and get started with us.
Yeah, so if you're watching this, thank you, Ms. Rha. If you're watching this in the hosted on our website, movethecrowd.me, you should see a shiny little orange button to your left that will say Academy. And there you can read all about, we have a lot of different FAQs, and you can see, like, could this be right for me? Like, where am I in my own entrepreneurial journey, right? Because we don't always know. We might think we're one place and we're really another, or we're on one track and maybe we're ready to dream something entirely new and different, right? Or give voice to the dream that's been percolating in there for some time. Move the Crowd, I can say from my own experience, and this community is a wonderful place. One of the very few places, in fact, I know no other places that will hold your spirit, and then help you create a kick-ass client pipeline, right, at the same time. So it's a very special community. So you can check out there all the information that we have right now about the Academy, and on that same page, you can sign up for a free strategy session. So our Academy registration is open till, I think, just about the end of the month, right around the end of the Cardinal Grand Cross times. Perfect timing. So you can, of course, sign up for your free strategy session, and someone will, the lovely host Alina will get back to you probably within 24 hours to set up a call with one of our coaches. And if you're watching from the Google Plus Hangout page, I will definitely post a link in just a moment, and that links to our Academy page. And then please follow us on social media, right? We've got like daily move tips going out every day on Twitter. So our handle is True Paid Good. Right, on Facebook, it's Move the Crowd, but you can find us facebook.com/TruePaidGood. It's our mantra. Yeah. And sorry.
No, you go.
I was just going to say we had a couple other questions that didn't get answered, and so what I'm going to proffer here is that you and I will have a quick chat offline about some of these, and we'll post them in the blog in the coming days. So come back to the blog, right? movethecrowd.me. Click on the blog button and look for your question and answer.
For all of you that joined us tonight, I just want to thank you. We're all so busy, and you could make a million choices about where you are at any given time. And what I want you to know is that you are creative, that it is your birthright. And I want you to really ask yourself tonight, where are you willing to challenge yourself around what you've been believing? And where are you willing to be a conscious creator in the reality that you want to have and manifest? And where are you willing to be supported? And if you're willing to be supported, I want to invite you in whatever way feels right to stay connected to us and to, be on the journey and be in community and surround yourself with people who are going to affirm the highest of what it is that you want to be and see in the world. And so whether it's our community or another community, stay connected to people who positively feed you. And if it is us, it would be our honor to serve you. Okay, you all. Big love. Have a great evening. Thank you again so much.
Thank you, Rha. Thanks, everyone.
Mhm.